Welcome back to the Alcohol-Free RV. This week I'm going to continue the series that I started with battery cables a couple weeks ago. This week we're actually going to do the install of the charger into the basement storage of the RV, hook it up to the batteries, and show you some of the ins and outs of how to set it up and get it configured for your needs. With that, we'll get started. One thing to know about this charger is that this bank of switches is so that you can specify the absorption phase voltage as well as the float voltage. Now the voltage is specific to your battery chemistry, as well as any specifics for your brand. So I'm not going to say this is what you need to set your battery for. We have lead acid, and you may have a flooded lead acid battery as well, but each battery is different, and you should do your own research to determine what your settings should be. But the first two specify the absorption, the second two specify the float, and then the last one, number 5, specifies your lithium versus lead acid. Now I'm going to go ahead and set my settings where I think they should be. Yours may be different based on your own research. So the other thing that's a little bit weird is that on is actually down and off is up. So be careful with that as you're setting up your voltages. When using a lead acid battery, be it flooded or any of the sealed types like AGM or gel, you should be using voltage compensation So that's what this cable is for. It's got a little like telephone connector, and then you place the other end of that next to your battery. Basically that's to adjust the charging voltage if it's warmer or colder than 77 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 Celsius. I don't fully understand all the details of how that works, but they say you should use that, so I did. I connected my turning on and off wires. I just ran an extra lead from the positive terminal that gets connected to the truck. That way it's only on when it's plugged into the truck and when the truck is calling for it to charge the battery. I do have everything switched in the truck, so I just ran a cable down, and I used both terminals here. So one is the actual on-off switch. That's the red wire that you see there. I think they call that D+. And then the other one is LC, which is current limiting. Now, I only have 160 or so amp hours worth of battery today, so I am choosing to limit my current. What that does is it takes the 60 amps that this normally provides and will actually cut it in half. So I'm only going to be feeding 30 amps to my batteries. Just a little bit concerned that pushing the full 60 amps is going to be too much. We'll see what happens after we actually take a trip and if it provides enough current to maintain that charge. In the future, I do plan on having a higher capacity as well as some batteries that can handle a higher current. So for right now though, I'm just going to keep that limited at 30 amps. I do have a fuse on the positive line going from the charger to the batteries, and this, they say that the gauge could probably be a little bit smaller because this is maximum 60 amps. The higher gauge going from the truck needed to be a heavier gauge cable, simply because that's a long distance from the truck battery to here. This, per the manual, said could be a lot smaller. I've got about 8 feet of wire, I think, on the longer end of these, so I went ahead and just used the same 1/0 cable to connect this to the batteries. I also did create new battery to battery connections. We'll take a look at that real quick. In our RV, we have one battery that is on the passenger side and one that's on the driver's side. So in order to try to maintain kind of a consistent amperage across the batteries, I made some wiring changes up here. And the first thing is I took the positive terminal of the inverter, connected it to this battery, but the negative of the charger, the 60 amp charger, I connected to this side. Now I rerouted the inverter negative to the driver's side and the charger positive to the driver's side, and then I created new cabling to connect the batteries together. So I have a big heavy gauge cable going from positive on this side to positive on the other side, because I'm wiring them in parallel. They're 12 volt batteries, so in parallel, and that just kind of makes it so that really I have the space on these terminal posts to actually accept all the connections. Now, to run the cable from the RV to the truck, I didn't want to try to shove this heavy gauge cable through the very limited amount of space that's underneath here. I didn't want to crimp anything, so I went ahead and just drilled some holes in the corner there, where it goes from the horizontal to the vertical, and ran my wires out, and they go up over the tongue. And I will have to see about maybe putting like some sort of holder here at the tip of the tongue. but the cables will come off the front of this, and then they'll go ahead and go straight over to the side of the truck, which should prevent any kinking from occurring, which obviously quite important. So I've got the RV running on just the inverter. I've turned off all the high draw stuff, but like the fridge and some lights and stuff are on inside. Currently have 12 volts approximately. It's fluttering between 11.99 and 12. And coming out of the charger, I have 12.33 volts, 12.32. So we're gonna let that run for a little bit and see what these numbers do. Now the voltage coming out of the charger after 10 minutes of, you know, just basic usage inside the house, we're at 13.58 volts. And so that tells me that the charger is in fact raising the voltage going into the batteries. That looks good. I'm excited to see how this thing behaves after a 8-hour day on the road. Thanks for watching this episode of the Alcohol-Free RV. Again, if you want to see more videos like this where I do mods, repairs, and upgrades to our RV, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below, and also maybe that little bell icon so you get notified when these videos come out. My name's Todd. This is the Alcohol-Free RV, where we do mods, repairs, and upgrades along the way. We'll see you next time.